This Siribhuvalaya, the 10th Wonder of the World, authored by Sudharthy Hassan uh, in Kannada and translated to English by Kavi Suresh. So let's see the first article in this, a brief history about Sarva Bhasha Mai Bhasha Siribhuvalaya of Adi Kavi Kumudendu Muni. So I'm just narrating the words of Sudharthy ji, and wherever if I feel I should give some more explanation, I will try to give my opinion over there. With that, let us start this journey of Sri Bhuvalaya history. The Jains hold the 24 Tirthankaras in high esteem and reverence. Rishabhdeva or Rishabhanatha was the first Tirthankara among them. After ruling the entire world for a long time, he became averse to worldly attachments, but before proceeding to the forest for penance, that's Vanaprastha, he equally divided his worldly assets to his 4 children. So let's see some terminologies here. In Jainism, a Tirthankara is a human being who helps in achieving liberation and enlightenment as an arihant by destroying their soul-constraining karmas, become a role model and leader for those seeking spiritual guidance. What is Vanaprastha? There are 4 stages, religious stages in a human's life. Childhood, that is Balya, is called as Brahmacharya Ashrama. Youth, Yavana, it's Grihastha marriage. Old age, it's Vanaprastha, and the life of a renunciation is a Sannyasa Ashrama. So Rishabhadeva's eldest son, Bharata, begot the entire kingdom. His second son, Bahubali, got Paudanapura. His sister Brahmi got the 64 alphabets of ancient language in the world, which is Kannada, beginning with the letter A. So it's based on the Brahmi language. And Brahmi alphabets, which is not Ashokan Brahmi, it's a virginal Brahmi, is different from the Ashokan Brahmi. The youngest daughter, Sundari, gets the numbers from 1 to 9 along with 0. The Kannada numbers are its letters are numbers. Ankave Akshara, Akshara Ankame. This is the essence of the supreme knowledge, which is called as the Kevala Jnana, the knowledge of emancipation or liberation, which was attained by Adi Tirthankara Rishabhadeva. This is the main thrust of this particular work. These letters and numbers are similar to each other, and with the help of this, it is possible to know the entire knowledge pertaining to the world and thereby attain salvation in life. Rishabhadeva taught this secret to his younger daughter, Sundari. This cosmic knowledge or wisdom flowed from gods to Rishabhadeva, who in turn passed it on to Gommata Deva, known as Adi Manmata, who neatly incorporated them in the coded numerical form. He later preached it to his elder brother Bharata through Ganadhara. This divine knowledge was passed on to the next Tirthankara, Ajita. Like this, it flowed to the next 21 Tirthankaras in the form of preaching, that is Upadesha, from one to another. The ancient literature mentions that the period between some of these Tirthankaras was over 3,000 years. The living span of the ancient Tirthankaras itself was more than lakhs of years. Neminatha was the 22nd Tirthankara. This cosmic knowledge bestowed from heaven was taught to Sri Krishna of Dwaraka by Neminatha. This was presented by sage Vyasa Maharshi, in the form of Bhagavad Gita, containing 163 shlokas, cantos, titled Jayakhyana. Sri Krishna preached this to Arjuna, who was about to retreat from the warfield. So the Siddhartha of Kapila Vastu was the disciple of Parshvanatha Tirthankara, the 23rd Tirthankara. He later became Buddha. Siddhartha, disciple of Parshvanatha, became the Buddha and founded the Buddhism around. Don't take the timelines here, the chronology as the exact one. They are all approximations based on the historical guidance. So 450 BC. Mahavira, the 24th Tirthankara, around 201 BC, passed on this cosmic wisdom to Ganadhara Gautama. Gautama incorporated this in his work known as Purve Kavya, the ancient Kavya. This was also known as Mangala Prabhuta or Karana Sutra. In 130 BC around, Gautama preached this wealth of divine knowledge to a king known as Shrenika. After the descendancy of 10 saints, gurus, in 50 BC, one Prabhavasena wrote Mangala Pauda with focus on Kannada, Samskrita, and Prakrita languages. The same descendancy of saints continued, and in around 400 AD, Bhutabali presented this divine knowledge in a work titled Bhuvalaya. In the continued tradition, Veerasenacharya wrote a commentary on this divine knowledge, which was in the form of Shatkhandagama. Shatkhandagama is one of the ancient agamas among 18 agamas. So it is the most authentic and most important text of Jain philosophy. It was adopted by Jainism and doctrine. There is such a vast analytical literature of its commentaries that one is stunned at the immensity of the knowledge of the commentators and the intensity of their study. These later became popular as Dhavala. Jinasena, disciple of Virasena, compiled the ancient Mahapurana around 800 AD. Why it is 800 AD is it's in Kumudendu Muni says that exactly 1000 and 1.5 year later, the attainment of salvation of Mahavira, that is 24th Tirthankara, Kumudendu Muni wrote this Sarva Bhasha Mayi Bhasha Siribhuvalaya. This divine knowledge was earlier in two forms known as Nutana and Praktana. Nutana means new, Praktana means old. Kumudendu Muni wrote this Kannada numeric poetry on the palm leaves. Okay, it's not exactly the numeric poetry, so it is a alphabetic poetry. Okay, it's called as Akshara Bhuvalaya in terms of the 64 Kannada alphabets. Then to protect those literature, those shlokas, so he has codified this in the form of Kannada numerics in 9 number combinations. That's totally 10, 0 to 9 numerics, numerals, and presented it as a Kannada numeric poetry. Thus, an unprecedented great piece of poetry in Kannada numerics came to the world. Later, Kumudendu Muni preached this to Gangarasa Saigotta Sivamara around 780 to 812 AC, and then to Amoghavarsa, Emperor of Rashtrakuta Nrupatunga, 814 to 880 AC. Mallikabbe, wife of one Sena, who was the commander of the army, copied this work on a buff paper and presented it to her guru, preacher, Maghanandi or Maghananandi. One such copy has come down from generation to generation and has been preserved in the family of Dharnendra Pandit, a famous Ayurvedic doctor in Doddabele village alongside the railway track of Bangalore to Tumkur. It is a historical fact that he used to read this in the numeric language and his friend Chanda Pandit used to give commentaries. Having extensively studied Siribhuvalaya, Dharnendra Pandit was very popular for his knowledge of Ayurveda, astrology, veterinary science, and metallurgy. Another significant and historical fact was that he had engaged himself in the manufacture of stainless steel, non-corrosive one, in his Bangalore laboratory even before the World War. Around 1913 AD, Dharnendra Pandit passed away. Later, this extraordinary ancient numeric poetry came to the possession of his son-in-law, Sri Yellappa Shastri, who was an Ayurvedic medicine sales representative. He preserved it in his private library. So he had believed that Siribhuvalaya, also known as Sarva Bhashamayi, containing all Shastras, Sarva Jnanamayi, containing all knowledge, contained Rasavidya. And that by studying the same, he could manufacture gold. But coming across this heap of numeric poetry, codified language, very hard to decipher, Pandit Yellappa Shastri was, in fact, disillusioned. One Karlamangalam Srikantaya was a great follower of Gandhi. Influenced by the struggle for freedom movement, he settled down in Bangalore around 1927. He later became a scholar in many languages. He came across this great ancient work and firmly resolved to decipher it. He also came in contact with Yellappa Shastri. In this direction, he extensively studied ancient works such as Shiksha, Dhavala Tika, Jaya Dhavala Tika, Rajavartika, Tatvarthaloka, Vartikalankara, Shabdanushasana, Mahapurana, Tiloya Pannatti, written by ancient writers such as Panini, Virasena, Jinasena, Akalanka, Vidyananda, Bhattakalanka, and others. Due to his persistent and sincere efforts, he came to the conclusion that Siribhuvalaya has 64 alphabets. By his continued efforts, he was able to match each alphabet with the numbers found in the Siribhuvalaya text. This is the claim, but we suspect that, and also we authentically suspect that they had the original Akshara Bhuvalaya, due to which they were able to retrieve the text in a proper format. Okay, by this method, he succeeded in sorting out this Kannada numeric poetry in the simple form, in the form of a simple and Kannada language having a cognate and meaningful literature. This was publicized at the state, national, and international levels also. With the sincere and foresighted efforts of Maharshi Devarata of Gokarna, is highly respected as a Brahmarshi and the Mantra Drashtara, a close associate of Kalamangalam Shrikantaya also. And the intervention of the then President of India, late Dr. Babu Rajendra Prasad, this rare work of literature was preserved in the Government of India Archives Department, Delhi, in microfilm format. So I personally went and had a look into that. So it is very, they don't cooperate with you to see this valuable information. They say that there is no such literature available in National Archives, but if you are adamant enough and negotiate with them, talk with them, so then they may show it. That's the agony of our National Archives or the government offices. But I was able to see the microfilms and the CD under the possession of National Archives Delhi. But the fact is that it is nothing in front of the literature published by Sudharthy ji. So he has covered a lot more than what is available there in National Archives. Okay, but yeah, that becomes National Archives document becomes an authentic document or legal document. Okay, so the first part of this was printed in Kannada language through the Sarvartha Siddhi Sangha, Bangalore, and released at the Kannada Sahitya Parishat in 1953 in the form of a book. It carried the name Ellappa Shastri as researcher and Kalamangalam Shrikantaya as editor. Its second part was published in 1955. These notable developments pertaining to Siribhuvalaya have unfortunately not been properly appreciated in the Kannada literary field till now. In fact, it is a case of gross negligence. Even today, many educated and enlightened classes do not know that such a precise, precious piece of divine and literature in Kannada exists. Even among those who know, the number of people who are aware of the vastness and variety of subjects included in this text is very rare. Many people promptly admit the fact that they are unaware of this. Some people, even though unaware, pretend that they are aware. Some other people who know very little boast that they were aware of this much earlier itself. They even lack the basic courtesy of promptly acknowledging the fact that they know nothing about this work. So it has been recently observed that one fake book on Siribhuvalaya has been published by some author from, I think, Indore. Uh, so it is totally a copy of several books by Sudharthy and Pustaka Shakti Prakashana, and also 1953 work, and claimed it as a authentic book. It has nothing, and had a very high cost incurred on that. So like this, there are some literary field experts in Kannada and some doctors and some engineers not even opened the single page of Siribhuvalaya and bluffing improper details and misleading the society about the Siribhuvalaya. Please don't fall into this. Out of all these efforts, a recent effort is by uh, famous Kannada director and actor K. Suchendra Prasad has included uh, some of the details of Siribhuvalaya in his latest movie, Mau Begu. So that's one of the, we can claim it as one of the sincere efforts, but many of the other efforts which we have come through, they were not at all proper. So they are trying to either glorify themselves as the laureates, intellectuals, without even studying the Siribhuvalaya. Everyone, lot of people, they want to become famous in the name of Siribhuvalaya, but even without opening a single page of that. So it's a tragedy. But yeah, so that's also said in Siribhuvalaya that these things will happen. Okay, so what does Siribhuvalaya contain? Answer to this question is anything and everything. Okay, so it holds the entire gamut of issues pertaining to this material world as also that of the world beyond. Issues relevant to this material world as also issues in the form of preachings for emancipation of the self in devised ways are extensively dealt with here. It is in fact a storehouse of complete knowledge, an encyclopedia of encyclopedia. So, however, such a great piece of work remained in the dark for over 50 to 60 years. Recently, in 2003, through a private publisher, the work of its revision and incomplete reprinting work went underway. Late K. Ananta Subbarao, inventor of Kannada typewriter, was a close associate of Yellappa Shastri, custodian of Siribhuvalaya, and researcher Kalamangalam Srikantaya. He dedicated his entire life to the propagation of this great ancient treasure of knowledge with his wholehearted cooperation and guidance. Sudharthy of Hassan prepared an introductory book, Siribhuvalaya Sara, which is already in the hands of Kannada readers. The other publications like Siribhuvalayada Sangatya Padyagala Sangraha, that is collection of Kannada poems decoded from Siribhuvalaya, Siribhuvalaya Vandu Minchu Nota, a glimpse of Siribhuvalaya, Siribhuvalaya Jayakyanantargata Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita as detailed in Jayakhyana of Siribhuvalaya, are an effort to give publicity to this great but yet completely unexplored treasure of knowledge. A Hindi version titled Sarvabhashamai Bhasha Siribhuvalaya Ki Ek Chanki has also been published. Hindi version was translated by S. Ramanna of Hassan. Though pertaining to the same subject, these publications aim to popularize this work in their own different style. So I have listed out all the major 11 books by Sudharthy ji in this slide. So you can go through that. He's also preparing the 12th book, the next book of a lot of poems. Uh, I can't reveal the major things, but uh, a lot of poems have been recompiled and it has been pounded into a big volume. So, and it is expected to be published sooner and distributed as a Shastradana freely to the only to the interested people and who are eligible to receive such great literature. Okay, or the people who study uh, thoroughly and have an immense interest can approach us and get that as a dana from the Sudharthy. So, though pertaining to the same subject, these publications aim to popularize this work in their own different style. The original literature and its hidden literature contained in chapters 34 to 50 of the first canto, that's Khanda of Siribhuvalaya, have been published under the title Siribhuvalaya Sagara Ratna Manjusha. Also Siribhuvalaya Sara. So another book having 51 to 59 adhyayas, totally covering all the 34 to 59 adhyayas have been already published by Sudharthy ji. Sri Kavi Suresh, resident of Shumogga and a descendant of the Keladi Kavi family, has translated all these introductory books in English in a concise manner. That's what we are narrating now in English. So these details provide a bird's eye view of the origin, expansion, and history of Siribhuvalaya, a Kannada poetry in numerics. With this, we are going to close the this particular session and come back with the next topic. Till then, stay tuned. I'm Hemanth Kumarji from Veda Vidya Consultants. Thank you, one and all.